Welcome to Mastering Positional Techniques. It's lesson number 3. In last two lessons we were talking about restricting enemy's pieces, and in this lesson we're taking on creating breathing space for your pieces by using different techniques. And we start off by looking at the topics such as the temporary pawn sacrifice. And to give you an example, let's say you play Queen's Gambit. You play d4, they respond with d5, you play c4. You sacrifice your pawn, but it's only temporary, as most of the time white end up taking on c4 back, and then they have a huge lead in development. And we take a look at the first example. It was Queen's Gambit declined. Evgeny Baryev, who I beat in 2024, last year. He was top 4 in the world in 2000s. He was playing with white pieces. This position occurred after Queen's Gambit declined, and usually in such structures, as you might see the arrows, white's plan is to go f3, e4, or another plan might be to go rook b1, b4, b5 and try to advance on the queen side. But here, instead of going rook b1 and then b4, Evgeny plays b4 right away. But you might ask, this bishop is on e7 and it attacks on b4. And yeah, you're absolutely right, but it turns out that after bishop b4, bishop f6, white are getting better. So the point is, if queen f6, the position is just horrible after knight d5, there's potentially queen a4 afterwards, position simply collapses. G takes f6 is black's best choice. But here, unfortunately for them, knight d5 is still happening, and you might ask, what? The point is, after queen d5 you have queen a4, and it's double attack on this bishop on b4 and on rook on e8. So black gotta protect one of them, and they played bishop h3. So they counterattack on g2. Their point is they protected this rook on a8 to e8, and now they're trying to checkmate us. We of course can't play queen b4, we can't play queen a8, and we don't really want to go g takes h3 because that will damage our structure. White playing knight f4, attacking queen, attacking bishop, protecting pawn on g2, and also we're still threatening this bishop on b4. Black responded with queen a5, and after queen trade, knight h3, white got a comfortable endgame. Let's get to the next example, and the following position is really interesting. I want you to think of moves and what you would have done here. Fascinating position, really interesting. Here again, temporary pawn sacrifice. You have a hint every time I give you a concept, so try to think of what you would do. The move here is to play e5, and you might ask, what is happening after d takes e5? Like, yeah, you sacrificed, you have d5 square, but it doesn't really matter. Yeah, it doesn't, because after knight c2 we attack on e5 and we get very active pieces. Black played knight c2, queen c2, and the point is, pawn on e5 is not able to move, and after rook d8, rook e5, white got a lot of activity, and they're a lot better. Pawn on b7 under attack, bishop on d6 under attack, pawn on c5 is a weakness. So, and I'm not sure how this game ended, but white have a slight edge. Now let's get to topic number 2. The simulated pawn exchange is probably a very important, and I think most of you will find it very useful. So I would like you to try and think of different moves here and what you would have done here as with what pieces. So the simulated pawn exchange, what does it even mean? So basically, you're trying to simulate a pawn trade, but then the neighborhood pawn to it doesn't actually trade itself, but actually moves forward. You'll see what I mean later. So in the following position, black played e4. So white have no choice but to take on e4. And now, as opposed to taking on e4, we push by playing f4. And as you might see, I highlighted e5 square. as now nobody can actually touch it from white, no pawns from white pieces. We try to go knight d7, we try to go knight d5 and take this very, very important outpost. So bishop goes to f2, knight goes to d7, trying to go to e5. Now white go knight g1, they're trying to play knight f3. Now queen g5, we continue attack with this threat on g2. Now bishop f1, and as you might actually see, white are going all passive back, trying to prepare for a new game. Black play knight e5, and after knight f3, queen e7. Takes, queen e5, castle, knight f6, knight comes back. And after h3, bishop d7, bishop d3, a6, we're trying to create counterplay on the queen side, we're playing d5 at some point, knight b1. Whites are instead trying to get the knight to f3, and now we don't let them do it. We play f3 ourselves, blocking the way to a knight to f3, and again, you know, kind of temporary pawn sacrifice. But in this case, it's not even temporary, it's just like positional sacrifice. You just don't let this knight be active. And after knight d2, knight f4, black are in full control. The position is still around equal, but it looks more pleasant for black. Now let's get to the next position, and this one again, very, very interesting one. So knight is on g4, and when knight on g4 and queen potentially can attack h2, it's always very, very interesting. And here white play he takes e5, and instead of capturing it back with pawn or knight, black pushed the pawn to d5, creating kind of this momentum. They create time for themselves because now bishop is under attack, and white have to move bishop or they have to take the pawn on d5. But they take on d5, and now you take on e5, and now you threaten pawn on h2. They gotta protect it, of course. h3 doesn't work, bishop f4 doesn't work, f4 doesn't work either because bishop on e3 is will be hanging. g3. Now again, you don't take the pawn, you create even more threats by playing queen h5 and attacking pawn on h2. Now h4 was played, and now bishop h4. White play king g2, trying to bring the rook to h1 and try to counterattack us. We play bishop f5, attacking the queen on d3, queen goes to d2, and after knight e3, after takes e3, bishop f6, black again in massive advantage, bishop c3, queen c3, bishop e4, and black have a massive, massive edge. Now I hope it was clear for you. Let's get to the next topic. The next topic is creating an impregnable outpost for a piece. And once again here, I would like you to pause the video and try to find a good plan for white pieces. And outpost usually mean outpost, let's say, for a knight. So here you gotta actually see where knight is trying to go and where we should place it so it can create threats to black. And hopefully you found it, hopefully you can understand the general idea here. White play a4. We're trying to place our knight on c4 so it cannot be touched, and usually in these structures, let's say, even if we place knight to c4, let's say after takes, which happened in the game, rook b8, knight c4, black, if they try to go a6 and b5, of course they will weaken up b6 square, and a6 is most of the time is met with a5, and of course in the following case we'll just play knight b6 and win an exchange. So it's very hard to deal with this knight. Black played b5, and after capture, they're threatened b3 pawn, but we can just go rook a3, protecting it. After knight g6, rook f a1, white have a very, very huge advantage. Now to show you more positions, I want to take a look at this example. And again, we gotta create outposts for the knight, and you probably see what would be the perfect square for the knight in this position. And this square is of course d4. So how do we bring the knight to d4? So first we play b4. We chase the bishop back to let's e7, or how they played it in game, bishop b6. And now we play knight b3, trying to place our knight to d4. And after queen e7, knight d4, this knight is in full control, as pawn on f4 defends us from this pawn on e6 being pushed and get this knight away. We attack and bishop on c6 at the moment, and white are slightly better. Now let's get to the final topic of this video. Last in Open Outposts. This one will be very, very exciting as well. So look at the first position here. I mean, at the first glance, it looks terrible, and you see engine doesn't like it at all. But, you know, in order not to lose here quickly, we gotta create something with black pieces. And here, black played f5. So the idea of f5 is we're trying to create outpost for our knight on b6 and play knight d5 so it cannot be touched. And white continue with knight c5, and traits are only favor us here. F takes e4, queen e4, knight c5, d takes c5, knight d5. We created a beautiful outpost for our knight on d5, and even though it's still, you know, better for white, but at least it's not as terrible as it was in the starting position with knight on b6, on a6. Agree with me, don't get me wrong, but I think it looks much better. Now let's get to the final position of this lesson. And this occurred in Queen's Gambit declined as well in Chigorin. Bishop on c6, bishop on b4, and once again outpost for the knight, as opposed to simply, I'm not sure, queen h4 looks like a theoretical move, but here black played aggressively f5. The idea is, if white end up capturing, this knight goes to d5 and takes this beautiful outpost in the center. White continued d5. I'm not sure why, but I think they only helped black with their plan, as black immediately played knight a7, and after a3, bishop a5, bishop c4, bishop goes to d5, and after queen a4, oh no, my bishop, but we play c6, and now this bishop is protected by our queen on d8. Bishop d3, queen goes to b6. Here before, it looks like they win a piece, but queen d4 actually saves us. We'll attack knight, we'll attack bishop on d3. White continued bishop c2, and now b4 in some lines is really annoying, so queen a6 was played, and after bishop d1, bishop c4, f4, castle, bishop e3, knight d5, black gained a massive advantage with this piece coordination and ended up winning this chess game. I hope you could understand like main ideas. Once again, let me know your feedback, any thoughts you have about certain positions. You know, I'm always reading your comments. I'm always excited to help you. So let me know. I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye bye.